Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to share a very personal story with you. If you feel nervous when you speak English, this story is for you. Maybe you know many English words but you still can't speak. Maybe you're afraid that people will laugh at you. I understand that feeling because I was the same. I was afraid to speak even one simple sentence. My heart beat very quick whenever someone asked me to speak English. I thought my English wasn't great enough. I always worried about making mistakes. But one day everything began to change. My first English conversation wasn't perfect, but it gave me confidence. It taught me that speaking is more significant than being perfect. Today, I will tell you exactly how I first began talking in English and how you can do the same. So, relax, listen carefully, and let's begin this journey together. When I first began learning English, I only knew several simple words. I could say hello, thank you, and great morning. That was all. I could read some simple sentences, but I couldn't speak them with confidence. Every time I wanted to say something, I stopped. I translated every word in my mind. By the time I completed thinking, the conversation had already moved on. I felt disappointed. I wondered if I would ever speak English naturally. One day, I made a little decision. I decided that I would stop waiting for the perfect time. I would begin speaking with the English I already knew. I stood in front of a mirror and smiled at myself. I looked into my own eyes and said, "Hello, my name is Alex. I am learning English. I am delighted today." The sentences were very simple, but they were my first spoken English sentences. I repeated them again and again each and every day. I practiced for 10 minutes. Gradually my voice became powerfuler. After several days I began talking about my daily life. I said I wake up at 7. I brush my teeth. I eat breakfast. I go to work. These were simple sentences but they assisted me think in English. I didn't worry about grammar all the time. My goal was only to speak. Every mistake became a lesson. Every sentence made me a bit improved. Then I began listening to English stories each and every day. I listened carefully and repeated every sentence after the speaker. Sometimes I paused the audio after every sentence. I copied the pronunciation and the rhythm. At first it felt strange, but after some time it became easier. My mouth became more comfortable with English sounds. I noticed that I could remember sentences without translating them. One evening, something unexpected happened. I met a person who spoke English. We began talking. I was nervous. My hands felt cold. My heart was beating quick. I wanted to run away, but I remembered my daily practice. I took a deep breath and smiled. The person said, "Hello. How are you?" I answered, "I am fine. Thank you. How are you?" The conversation was very short, but it was real. We talked for only 2 or 3 minutes. I made many mistakes. Sometimes I stopped because I forgot a word. Sometimes my pronunciation wasn't clear, but the other person smiled and understood me. That moment changed my life. When I went home, I felt very delighted. I realized something significant. People don't expect perfect English. They only want to understand you. Communication is more significant than perfection. That day gave me new confidence. I knew I could improve if I continued practicing. After that, I spoke English each and every day. I talked to myself while cooking. I described everything I saw. I said, "The sky is blue. The weather is nice. I am drinking tea. I am reading a book." These little speaking exercises assisted me build confidence little by little. I also began writing short paragraphs in English. Then I read them aloud. This improved both my reading and speaking. Sometimes I recorded my voice on my phone. When I listened to the recording, I noticed my mistakes. The next day, I tried to speak more clearly. Every recording was improved than the last one. I also learned that listening is the key to speaking. The more English I listened to, the easier it became to speak. I listened while walking, while cleaning my room, and before sleeping. English gradually became a natural part of my daily life. There were still challenging days. Sometimes I forgot words. Sometimes I felt embarrassed. But I never stopped. I remembered my first conversation and how delighted it made me feel. That memory gave me the strength to continue. Today I can speak English much improved because I began with simple sentences. I didn't wait until I knew thousands of words. I began with the words I already had. That little beginning changed everything. If you're afraid to speak English, Remember this. Your first conversation doesn't need to be perfect. It only needs to happen. Speak 1 sentence today. Tomorrow speak 2. Next week speak 5. Little by little your confidence will grow. Every great English speaker was once a beginner. They all beginned exactly where you're today. So believe in yourself. Practice each and every day. Listen carefully. Repeat often. Speak without fear. Mistakes are your teachers, not your enemies. One day you will look back and smile because you will remember your own first English conversation. It may be little, but it will be the beginning of a marvelous journey. Chapter: My largest fear was making mistakes. I want to tell you about the largest problem I faced after that day. It wasn't grammar. It wasn't vocabulary. It was fear. I was afraid of making mistakes. Maybe you feel the same way. If you do, this chapter is especially for you. After my first conversation, I wanted to speak more English. Every morning I promised myself that I would practice. But when I met someone who spoke English, my confidence disappeared. I became quiet again. My mind became empty. I forgot even the easiest words. I asked myself many questions. What if I say the wrong word? What if my pronunciation is poor? What if people laugh at me? These questions stopped me from speaking. They became a wall between me and my dream. One evening, I sat alone and thought carefully. I realized something significant. Every child makes mistakes while learning to speak. No baby speaks perfectly on the first day. Children learn by trying, making mistakes and trying again. So why was I expecting myself to be perfect? That thought changed my way of learning. The next day I made a new rule. I told myself, today I won't worry about mistakes. Today I will only speak. It wasn't simple. I still felt nervous. But every time I wanted to stop, I remembered my new rule. I began speaking with very simple sentences. I like reading. I drink tea every morning. I want to improve my English. These sentences were simple, but they gave me confidence. Every sentence was a little success. One day I accidentally used the wrong word while talking to someone. I immediately felt embarrassed. I wanted to apologize again and again, but the person smiled kindly and corrected me. He didn't laugh. He simply assisted me. That day I learned another significant lesson. Most people are kind. They understand that learning a language takes time. They respect people who are trying to learn. They know that mistakes are normal. After that experience, I became less afraid. Whenever someone corrected me, I thanked them instead of feeling poor. Every correction became a free lesson. I also began keeping a notebook. Every time I made a mistake, I wrote it down. On one side, I wrote my incorrect sentence. On the other side, I wrote the correct sentence. For example, I am go to school. I am going to school. Then I read the correct sentence aloud many times. Gradually I stopped making the same mistakes. This book became one of my best teachers. Every evening I reviewed it for 15 minutes. I noticed that my old mistakes gradually disappeared. New mistakes came, but that was okay because I knew I was learning. I also stopped comparing myself with other English learners. Some people spoke very quick. Some had excellent pronunciation. At first I felt discouraged. I thought they were much improved than me. Then I realized something. I didn't know how long they had been practicing. Maybe they had studied English for many years. Maybe they practiced each and every day. Comparing my beginning with someone else's experience was unfair. So I focused only on myself. Instead of asking, am I improved than them, I asked, am I better than yesterday? That simple question changed everything. Every week I noticed little improvements. I could remember more words. I could make longer sentences. I could understand English stories more easily. I could speak with less fear. These little improvements made me delighted. Another habit assisted me a lot. Every morning I looked into the mirror and spoke English for 5 minutes. At first I only introduced myself. Later I talked about my plans. Then I talked about my dreams. Sometimes I described my room. Sometimes I described the weather. Sometimes I told myself a funny story. The mirror never laughed. The mirror never interrupted me. The mirror gave me a safe place to practice. Little by little, speaking became natural. I also learned to celebrate every little success. When I completed reading an English story, I smiled. When I learned 10 new words, I celebrated. When I completed 1 week of daily speaking practice, I felt proud. These little celebrations kept me motivated. I stopped waiting for one large success. Instead, I enjoyed many little victories that made learning fun. I also discovered another secret. Confidence doesn't come before speaking. Confidence comes because of speaking. Many learners wait until they feel confident, but confidence grows only after regular practice. The more I spoke, the more confident I became. The more confident I became, the more I wanted to speak. It became a positive cycle. Some days were still challenging. Sometimes I forgot simple words. Sometimes I spoke very gradually. Sometimes I made many grammar mistakes. But I no longer felt ashamed. I knew that every mistake was assisting me become powerfuler. Today when I look back, I am thankful for every mistake I made. Without those mistakes, I would never have improved. They weren't failures. They were lessons. So, if you're learning English today, I want you to remember one significant message: don't be afraid of mistakes, don't wait until your English is perfect, don't compare yourself with other people, begin speaking with the words you already know. Practice each and every day. Write down your mistakes. Learn from them. Smile when someone corrects you. Every mistake brings you one step closer to fluency. One day you will realize that the mistakes you feared were actually the reason you became a confident English speaker. Keep believing in yourself. Keep practicing every single day. Your English will improve. One sentence at a time. Chapter 3. I began thinking in English instead of translating. This lesson assisted me speak quicker, understand improved, and feel more confident. The lesson was very simple. I stopped translating every sentence in my mind and I began thinking in English. When I first learned English, I translated everything. If someone asked me a simple question like "How are you?" I first changed the English words into my own language. Then I thought of an answer in my own language. Finally, I translated my answer back into English. This process took a long time. While I was thinking, the conversation continued. I missed many chances to speak. I became frustrated because I knew many English words but I couldn't answer quickly. My mind was always busy translating. It felt like carrying a heavy bag while trying to run. One day I watched a video about language learning. The speaker said something that stayed in my mind. He said, if you always translate, you will always speak gradually, begin thinking directly in English at first. I thought this was impossible. How could I think in a language that I was still learning? But I decided to try. I began with very simple thoughts. When I woke up in the morning, I said to myself, "Great morning." When I opened the window, I thought the weather is nice today. When I drank water, I thought I am drinking water. When I ate quick, I thought this food tastes great. These were very short sentences. I didn't translate them. I simply thought them in English. The first few days felt strange. Sometimes my mind wanted to return to my native language. But every time that happened, I gently brought my thoughts back to English gradually. It became easier. Then I began describing everything around me. I looked at my chair and thought, this chair is brown. I looked at my table and thought, my book is on the table. I looked outside and thought, many birds are flying. This simple exercise trained my brain to connect English words directly with real objects instead of translating them. After 1 week, I noticed something surprising. I was answering simple questions quicker. I no longer needed to translate every word. English began coming naturally. That little improvement gave me plenty of confidence. Each and every day I increased the Chilengingi a bit. Instead of only naming things, I began talking about my plans. I will study English after dinner. I want to complete 1 chapter today. I will listen to an English story tonight. These thoughts were still simple, but they assisted me practice English every hour without opening a textbook. Then I tried something even more interesting. Whenever I walked outside, I imagined that I was a tour guide. I described everything I saw in English. This is a busy street. There are a great many folks. A child is riding a bicycle. The shop is open. Sometimes I smiled because nobody knew I was practicing English inside my mind. This became my favorite daily exercise. Another habit also assisted me a lot. Before sleeping every night, I thought about my entire day in English. I woke up early. I worked hard. I learned 5 new words. I watched an English video. I am delighted because I practiced today. At first, I could only think for 1 minute. After several weeks, I could think in English for 10 or 15 minutes without stopping. My vocabulary also began growing naturally. Whenever I didn't know a word, I did not become upset. Instead, I used simple words that I already knew. For example, I forgot the word umbrella, so I thought the thing I use when it rains. Later, I looked up the correct word and learned it. This taught me another valuable lesson. You don't need perfect vocabulary to communicate. You only need the courage to keep expressing your ideas. As I continued practicing, I noticed another large change. Listening became easier. Earlier when I listened to English, I translated every sentence. Now my brain understood many simple sentences directly. It felt quicker and more natural. Movies became easier. Stories became easier. Conversations became easier. I was finally beginning to think like an English learner instead of a translator. There were still challenging days. Sometimes I forgot words. Sometimes I returned to translating without noticing. But I never became discouraged. I simply returned to thinking in English again. Little by little, my brain became powerfuler. I also began asking myself simple questions in English. What should I eat today? What book should I read? What will I do tomorrow? Then I answered those questions in English. This created little conversations inside my own mind. It was free practice each and every day. Nobody corrected me. Nobody judged me. I simply practiced. Soon I noticed something marvelous. During real conversations, English words came into my mind much quicker. I didn't panic anymore. I could answer simple questions without long pauses. That was one of the happiest moments in my learning journey. I finally understood that speaking English begins inside the mind. If your thoughts become English, your words will follow naturally. You don't have to wait until you know thousands of words. Begin with the words you already know. Think about your room. Think about your family. Think about your work. Think about your dreams. Keep your thoughts simple each and every day. Your brain will become quicker each and every day. English will feel more natural. Remember, fluency doesn't happen in one night. It grows one simple thought at a time. So, beginning today, challenge yourself. Spend 5 minutes thinking only in English. Tomorrow, make it 10 minutes. Then 15. Soon you will discover that you no longer need to translate every sentence. Your mind will begin speaking English naturally. That's the moment when real confidence begins. Keep practicing. Keep believing your English is improving every single day, even if you can't see it yet. One simple English thought today can become one confident English conversation tomorrow. Chapter 4. Daily practice changed my life. I want to tell you how practicing English every single day changed my life. It wasn't one long study session that assisted me become an improved speaker. It was the little things I did each and every day without giving up. When I first began learning English, I believed I had to study for many hours each and every day. Whenever I couldn't find enough time, I skipped my practice. One missed day became 2 days. 2 days became a week. Then I forgot many words that I had learned. Every time I began again, I felt like I was beginning from the first step. One morning I decided to change my plan. Instead of studying for 3 or 4 hours, I decided to practice for only 20 minutes each and every day. 20 minutes sounded simple. I knew I could find 20 minutes even on a busy day. So I made a simple daily routine. After waking up, I listened to 5 minutes of English. While eating breakfast, I learned 5 new words. In the afternoon, I read one short English story. Before sleeping, I spoke English to myself for 10 minutes. This routine was simple. It didn't make me tired. Most significantly, I could repeat it each and every day. After 1 week, I noticed something interesting. My pronunciation became a bit improved. I remembered more vocabulary. Reading became easier. Speaking became smoother. These improvements were little, but they made me delighted. That happiness encouraged me to continue. Soon, my daily practice became a habit. I no longer asked myself if I wanted to study. I simply followed my routine just like brushing my teeth. Practicing English became part of my daily life. One of my favorite activities was reading simple English stories aloud. I didn't read quickly. I read gradually and clearly. Every sentence assisted me improve my pronunciation. Whenever I found a new word, I wrote it in my notebook. Then I made my own sentence with that word. For example, when I learned the word comfortable. I wrote, this chair is comfortable. When I learned the word journey. I wrote, learning English is a marvelous journey. Making my own sentences assisted me remember new vocabulary much longer. Listening also became part of my daily routine. I listened to English while walking. I listened while cleaning my room. I listened while waiting for the bus. Sometimes I didn't understand every word. That was okay. I continued listening gradually. My ears became familiar with English sounds. The language stopped feeling strange. It began feeling natural. Another habit assisted me a lot. Every evening, I reviewed everything I had learned during the day. I looked at my notebook. I read my new words. I repeated my example sentences. I spoke them aloud. Reviewing assisted me remember information much improved. Without review, I forgot many things. With review, the words stayed in my memory. I also learned the importance of speaking every single day. Some days I had nobody to talk to. Instead of waiting for a partner, I became my own speaking partner. I asked myself questions. What did I do today? What will I do tomorrow? What food do I like? Then I answered every question in English. Sometimes I imagined I was giving an interview. Sometimes I imagined I was teaching someone English. These imaginary conversations made speaking easier. Another fun activity was describing pictures. I looked at photos in books or on my phone. Then I described everything I could see. There's a young boy. He is smiling. He is holding a football. The sky is blue. This simple exercise assisted me speak without memorizing sentences. It trained me to create English naturally. There were still challenging days. Sometimes I felt tired after work. Sometimes I wanted to skip my practice. But I remembered one significant sentence: a bit practice is always improved than no practice. Even if I practiced for only 10 minutes, I never missed the day completely. That little decision made a huge difference. Months passed. My confidence grew little by little. People began noticing my improvement. Some friends asked me, how did your English become improved? They thought I had discovered a secret. But my secret was very simple. I practiced each and every day. There was no magic. There was no shortcut, only little daily habits. I also learned that learning English should be enjoyable. Sometimes I watched funny videos. Sometimes I listened to interesting stories. Sometimes I sang simple English songs. These activities made learning exciting. When learning became fun, I never felt forced to study. I wanted to continue. I also stopped worrying about how quick I was improving. Instead, I focused on showing up each and every day. Some days were excellent. Some days were challenging. But each and every day was another step forward. Looking back now, I realize that consistency is powerfuler than motivation. Motivation comes and goes. Some mornings you feel excited. Other mornings you feel lazy. If you depend only on motivation, you will stop practicing. You will stop practicing. But if you build a habit, you continue even when you don't feel motivated. That habit changed my English forever. Today I can speak English because I refused to quit. I kept practicing even when progress felt gradual. Every little lesson became part of a much larger success. So if you want to speak English confidently, don't wait for the perfect day. Begin today. Practice for 15 or 20 minutes. Read one page. Learn 5 words. Listen to one short story. Speak for 5 minutes. Repeat this tomorrow. Then repeat it again. Little daily actions create large results. Remember, fluency isn't built in one day, it's built day after day, word after word, sentence after sentence. Keep your routine simple. Stay consistent. One day you will look back and realize that those little daily habits completely changed your life just as they changed mine. Chapter 5. Listening became my best English teacher. I want to talk about another habit that assisted me speak English naturally. That habit was listening. Before I became confident in speaking, I became a great listener. Listening trained my ears, my mind, and even my mouth. It became one of the most powerful tools in my English journey. When I first began learning English, I believed speaking was the only significant skill. I wanted to talk immediately. I tried to memorize grammar rules and vocabulary lists, but speaking still felt challenging. My sentences sounded unnatural. I often stopped because I didn't know what to say next. Then one day, I realized something. Children learn to listen long before they learn to speak. A baby spends many months, Listening to family members before saying the first word. The baby hears the same sounds each and every day. Gradually those sounds become familiar. Then speaking becomes natural. I thought maybe I should learn English the same way. So I began listening every single day. At first I chose very simple English stories. They use simple words and gradual speech. I listened carefully without worrying about understanding every word. My goal wasn't perfection. My goal was to become familiar with English. The first few days were challenging. Many words sounded too quick. Sometimes one sentence felt like one long word. I became frustrated. I wanted to stop. But instead of giving up, I changed my attitude. I told myself, every minute I listened is making my English powerfuler. That simple thought kept me going. Every morning I listened to one short English story. The first time I only listened. The second time I listened and read the subtitles. The third time I paused after every sentence and repeated it aloud. This exercise became my favorite. I wasn't only listening. I was copying the speaker's pronunciation, rhythm, and expression. At first, my pronunciation was very different. But after repeating hundreds of sentences, I noticed that my voice was becoming clearer. I sounded more natural. I also became improved at understanding spoken English. Soon I discovered another useful habit. Behold, useful habit. Whenever I learned a lovely sentence, I wrote it in my notebook. For example, if I heard each and every day is a new opportunity to learn, I wrote it down. Then I repeated that sentence many times during the day. Sometimes I spoke it while walking, sometimes while cooking, sometimes before sleeping. Those ready-made sentences became part of my daily English. Later, I began using them in my own conversations. Listening also assisted me learn pronunciation without studying challenging rules. I noticed how native speakers connected words. I noticed where they paused. I noticed which words they stressed. Little by little, my own speaking improved. One evening, I watched a short English video without subtitles. To my surprise, I understood much more than before. Not every word, but enough to understand the main idea. That moment made me smile. I realized my listening practice was working from that day. I became even more excited. I listened while walking to work. I listened while cleaning. I listened during my free time. English became part of my daily life. Another significant lesson I learned wasn't to translate while listening. Earlier I translated every sentence into my own language. This made listening gradual and challenging. Now I simply listened for meaning. If I understood the main idea, I was delighted. I didn't worry about every single word. This made listening much more enjoyable. Sometimes I listen to the same story 5 or 6 times. A great many folks think that repeating the same story is boring. For me, it was one of the best learning methods. Each time I listened, I understood something new. The first time I understood only several words. The second time I understood whole sentences. The third time I noticed pronunciation. The fourth time I learned new expressions. The fifth time I could almost repeat the story myself. That repetition built my confidence. I also began listening to different speakers. Some spoke gradually, some spoke quickly, some had different accents. At first, different accents confused me, but I continued listening. Soon, my ears became flexible. I learned that English is spoken in many different ways around the world. That understanding assisted me communicate with more people. Sometimes I felt tired. Sometimes I thought I wasn't improving. But then I remembered my first English conversation. I compared my old self with my new self. I realized that I understood much more English than before. Progress was happening quietly. I simply needed patience. Listening also improved my vocabulary naturally. Instead of me memorizing isolated words, I learned words inside real sentences. Because of this, I understood how people actually used those words. It became much easier to remember them. I no longer needed long vocabulary lists. Real conversations became my classroom. Stories became my teachers. Every podcast, every video, and every conversation gave me another chance to learn. Today, whenever someone asks me how to improve English speaking, I always give one significant piece of advice. Listen each and every day. Listen carefully. Listen patiently. Then repeat what you hear. Don't worry if you understand only 50% today. Tomorrow you may understand 60%. Next month you may understand 80%. Improvement happens little by little. Never think that listening is a passive activity. Great listening is active learning. Your brain is collecting new words. Your ears are learning pronunciation. Your mouth is preparing to speak. Everything is working together. If you continue listening each and every day, one morning you want is something marvelous. English will no longer sound like a foreign language. It will begin to feel familiar. That's the moment when speaking becomes much easier. So keep listening. Keep repeating. Keep believing in yourself. Every story you hear is bringing you one step closer to becoming a confident English speaker. Your journey is moving forward every single day, even when you can't see it. Chapter 6. Speaking each and every day gave me confidence. How daily speaking practice completely changed my confidence. When I first began speaking English each and every day, it wasn't simple. I still felt nervous. I still made many mistakes. Sometimes I forgot simple words that I already knew. Sometimes I stopped in the middle of a sentence because I didn't know what to say next. There were moments when I wanted to quit. I thought maybe English was too challenging for me. Maybe I would never speak fluently. But instead of giving up, I made one simple promise to myself. I will speak English each and every day, even if I speak for only 5 minutes. That promise became one of the best decisions of my life. Every morning after I woke up, I greeted myself in English. Great morning. Today is a lovely day. I will practice English today. These simple sentences gave my day a positive begin. Then I looked around my room and described everything I saw. This is my bed. My window is open. My bag is on the chair. My notebook is on the table. These simple descriptions trained my brain to create English sentences naturally. Soon I began talking about my daily routine. I am making breakfast. I am drinking tea. I am getting ready for work. I am learning something new today. At first, my speaking was gradual. I paused many times. I searched for words, but I kept speaking. Each and every day became a bit easier than the day before. One afternoon, I tried something different. I imagined that I was a teacher. There were no students. There was only me. But I explained simple English lessons as if I were teaching a classroom. I talked about colors. I talked about numbers. I talked about my family. I explained my hobbies. I asked imaginary questions and answered them. This exercise felt funny at first. Sometimes I laughed at myself. But it worked. The more I explained things, the more comfortable I became with English. Another activity assisted me even more. I recorded my voice on my phone each and every day. The first recording lasted only 1 minute. When I listened to it, I noticed many mistakes. My pronunciation wasn't clear. I spoke too quietly. I paused too often. Instead of feeling disappointed, I treated every recording like a lesson. The next day, I tried again. After 1 month, I compared my first recording with my newest one. The difference surprised me. I sounded much more confident. My pronunciation was clearer. My sentences were longer. My voice was powerfuler. That comparison gave me great motivation. It showed me that daily practice really works. I also learned that confidence grows gradually. A great many folks think confident speakers are born that way. That's not true. Confidence is built through practice. Every conversation adds a bit confidence. Every sentence makes you powerfuler. Every mistake teaches you something valuable. One evening, I met someone who spoke English very well. In the past, I would have stayed quiet. This time, I decided to speak. Our conversation lasted almost 15 minutes. Of course, I still made mistakes. Sometimes I searched for words. Sometimes my grammar wasn't perfect. But something significant had changed. I didn't stop speaking. I kept trying. The other person understood me. We smiled. We laughed. We enjoyed the conversation. When I returned home, I felt proud of myself. Not because I spoke perfect English, but because I had the courage to keep speaking. That day taught me another significant lesson. People care more about communication than perfection. They want to understand your ideas. They are not counting your grammar mistakes. That realization removed a large fear from my heart. After that, I looked for more opportunities to speak English. Sometimes I spoke with friends. Sometimes I spoke with other learners online. Sometimes I spoke only to myself. Every conversation became another chance to improve. I also stopped trying to use challenging vocabulary. Instead, I focused on speaking clearly. Simple English became my greatest strength. Short sentences were easier to remember. They were easier to pronounce. They assisted me communicate with confidence. As my confidence grew, my vocabulary also grew naturally. Every conversation introduced me to new words. I learned them in real situations that made them much easier to remember. I also noticed something interesting. The more I spoke, the quicker I began thinking in English. Earlier, I needed several seconds before answering a question. Now, my answers came much more quickly. I no longer translated every sentence. English began flowing naturally. That was one of the happiest moments in my learning journey. There were still challenging days. Sometimes I felt tired. Sometimes I forgot words. Sometimes I made the same mistakes again. But I no longer felt discouraged. I knew that improvement comes from consistency, not perfection. So I continued speaking each and every day. Looking back now, I realize that confidence was never something I found. It was something I built. One conversation at a time. One sentence at a time. One day at a time. If you want to become a confident English speaker, don't wait until you know everything. Begin speaking today. Speak about your room. Speak about your family. Speak about your dreams. Speak about your plans. Speak even if your sentences are simple. Remember, every fluent English speaker once began with simple words. They improved because they practiced regularly. You can do exactly the same. Believe in yourself. Trust the learning process. Keep speaking each and every day. Every sentence you speak is another step toward fluency. One day you will look back just as I do now and smile because you will realize that your confidence didn't appear overnight. It grew quietly through daily practice, patience, and courage. Keep going. Your best English is still waiting for you. Chapter 7. My English changed my life. I want to tell you what happened because I never gave up. I want to show you how learning English changed my life and how it can change yours, too. When I first began learning English, I had one simple dream. I wanted to speak without fear. I didn't want to stay silent whenever someone spoke English. I wanted to understand movies, books, and conversations. At that time, my dream seemed very far away. Each and every day was a challenge. Some days I understood many things. Other days, I understood almost nothing. Sometimes I felt confident. Sometimes I wanted to quit. But every morning I reminded myself of one significant sentence. Keep going. Those two words became my daily motivation. I continued listening. I continued reading. I continued writing. I continued speaking. Little by little, my English improved. The improvement was so gradual that I could hardly notice it. But after several months, everything looked different. One day, I watched an English video without subtitles. To my surprise, I understood almost everything. I smiled because I remembered the days when I couldn't even understand one simple sentence. That moment showed me that patience always brings results. Later, I began reading simple English books. At first, I used a dictionary many times. Then I needed it less and less. Soon I completed my first English book. Holding that completed book in my hands made me feel proud. It was more than a book. It was proof that my hard work was working. My confidence continued growing. I also noticed changes in my daily life. I could understand English signs. I could read websites. I could follow English instructions. I could watch educational videos from around the world. A whole new world opened in front of me. English was no longer just another subject. It became a bridge to knowledge. It connected me with millions of people. I also became more confident when meeting new people. Earlier I stayed quiet because I was afraid. Now I smiled and began conversations. Even when I made mistakes, I kept speaking. People appreciated my effort. Many of them encouraged me. Some even told me that my English was improving. No. Hearing those words filled me with happiness. One day a friend asked me, "How did you become confident in English?" I thought for a moment before answering. Then I smiled and said, "I never stopped practicing. That was the real secret. There was no magic method. There was no perfect course. There was no shortcut. Only daily practice. Only patience. Only consistency." That answer surprised my friend. He expected a complicated secret. Instead, the secret was simple. Practice each and every day. Believe in yourself. Never give up. As time passed, I realized something even more significant. Learning English English changed more than my language skills. It changed my personality. I became more confident. I became more patient. I became more disciplined. I learned that success comes from little daily actions. This lesson assisted me in many areas of my life, not only in English. Whenever I faced a challenging challenge, I remembered my English journey. I reminded myself that every large success begins with one little step. That thought gave me courage. Today, I still learn new English words. I still read books. I still listen to English stories. I still practice speaking. Learning never stops. Each and every day is another chance to become a bit improved. That's one of the most lovely things about learning. There's always something new to discover. If you're watching this today, maybe you are standing where I once stood. Maybe you're afraid to speak. Maybe you think your English isn't great enough. Maybe you believe fluency is only for other people. I want you to know something truly essential. I once felt exactly the same. I wasn't born speaking English. I wasn't naturally fluent. I learned step by step. If I could improve, you can improve. To begin with one sentence. Tomorrow, speak 2. Learn 5 new words. Read 1 short story. Listen to English each and every day. Think in English whenever you can. Speak without fearing mistakes. Every little action matters. Don't wait for the perfect moment. The perfect moment is today. 1 year from now, you will be thankful that you begin today. Remember that learning English isn't a race. Don't compare your journey with anyone else's. Some people learn quickly, others learn gradually. Both are moving forward. The significant thing is to keep moving. Every page you read is progress. Every conversation you have is progress. Every mistake you correct is progress. Celebrate every little victory. Be proud of yourself. You're doing something marvelous. You're building a skill that can open countless opportunities. Most significantly, never lose hope. There will be challenging days. There will be frustrating moments. There will be times when you feel like nothing is improving. Keep going anyway. Those challenging days are preparing you for future success. One day you will wake up and realize that English no longer feels impossible. You will understand conversations naturally. You will speak with confidence. You will smile because you will remember where your journey began. That day will be worth every minute of practice. Thank you for joining me throughout this journey. I truly hope my story has inspired you to believe in yourself. Remember, every confident English speaker was once a beginner. The difference is that they never gave up. So keep learning, keep listening, keep speaking, keep smiling. Your English journey has already begun and your future is brighter than you imagine. I believe in you. Now it's your turn to believe in